Hi, it's Don Southerton and your weekly episode of Everything Korea Office Chats. Today, our topic is pivoting to technology. Let's go ahead and get started. Like many of you, my day has pivoted to tech and especially EV and smart solutions. I'm fortunate as Korea has traditionally invested in innovation in addition to the major groups like Hyundai, Samsung, SK, and LG, is now the growing hub for startups and SME companies transitioning into mobility. Like many of you too, I ponder on the widespread EV acceptance, as well as the high costs associated with AV and smart technologies. That said, funding is really and kickstarting is really the key. So with that, stepping back a little bit, as many of you in the U.S. are drilling into the Biden $2 trillion infrastructure plan, Korea too is willing to spend about 2.7 trillion won, which in U.S. dollars is about 11.7 billion, this year in as part of their Digital New Deal program. Now, South Korea aims to foster new technology industries for job creation. Now, if we look back a little further, last year the Korean government unveiled an ambitious stimulus program. They called it the Korean New Deal Initiative. It accounts to about 160 trillion won, which would translate into about 150 billion US dollars. Now, monies that are for this are to be spent on developing technologies based in data, networking, artificial intelligence, which has including new technologies such as self-driving cars and smart manufacturing and factories. All makes a lot of sense, you know. With that, the government has added additional monies which will be spent on projects such as the digitalization of road infrastructure. And this is, as we all know, is very much tied to the self-driving technology. You can't have level 3, 4, 5 without infrastructure there that really helps support that. And I've actually driven on roads in Korea that have been really moved forward and really progressive on that. I mean, I've been on a number of highways which are well adapted and well created for the high level AV driving. Some over extensive amounts of travel into the mountains. So for the automotive industry, which I see and I'm very engaged every day, Korea hopes to pivot from decades of ICE, which is the internal combustion engine technologies and exports, to mobility and EV economy. Now, as an example, it's always good to have examples, the government proposed that up to 500 auto part manufacturers turn to what we're calling future car-related companies, funded substantially with U.S. government, with Korean government assistance. Now, as in many countries, the U.S. government is not only stepping in to aid consumer-grade electrical manufacturing, but there are similar plans in place for electric trucks, and e-buses, which would be working within the delivery and the public transit sector. Now, consumer, business, and public EV subsidies aside, and I just read, I guess today I read where in Korea you're going to get someone can get about a $12,000 subsidy for the new Hyundai Ioniq 5, which is a mixture of national and then Seoul-based subsidies. So beyond these subsidies, one goal of Korea is to cut the overall price of EVs, which we all know is really going to be a major driver. This means that batteries in some form of battery leasing, because the greatest cost, or one of the greatest costs, is the battery and all the related costs that go with that. So current studies show that EV battery programs can reduce upfront costs. Some say between 30 and 40% when the battery can be separately rented out or leased. This drives down the overall cost of owning and maintaining an EV vehicle over the lifetime. And it also includes second use, which I'm actually studying a lot. I live in Golden, Colorado, or I'm based in Golden, Colorado, and right down the road is NRail, the National Renewable Energy Facility, and I'm actually in correspondence with them a lot on the second use of batteries. So it's something I'm following very closely. You know, well, all this. So in Korea, the plan is to introduce electric battery leases so that the electric vehicle buyer's initial purchase cost can be halved. That's their goal. You know, as a starter program, battery leasing for the first time will look at electric taxis and trucks. You know, there's a pilot program by Hyundai and a few other affiliates that are collaborating that will launch this program later this year too. So something we can see in 2021. So, as I began this chat, much of my day is working with OEMs, suppliers, and end users, all who've pivoted to technology or pivoting in technology, especially the EV sector. I'm so fortunate that many of these are transitioning to mobility, from electric buses, electric delivery, and robo-taxi. You know, my role has long been to build collaborations and sound partnerships, as well as steering and moving projects through and forward. I'm open to your input, specific questions, requests, inquiries. Plus, I'd like to hear from you your thoughts on these topics. I'm free to reach out to me, so via email, text, or message, and we can set up a Zoom. So, until next time, this is Don Southerton, wishing you all the best. Again, very interesting topics going on. Massive funding to kickstart these programs. So I think that there's going to be, at least over the next couple of years, some sustainability. And so I think that it's really a topic that is really worth study and investigation. So take care, stay safe.